Hello everyone, it's Meghan LeVota here, and I'm going to share really quickly a creativity tip for NJs. So NJs would be ENFJ, ENTJ, INTJ, or INFJ types, and all of these types, the main thing they have in common is a preference for introverted intuition as their perceiving function. So you may know that intuitives are supposed to be the creative types or the more abstract or conceptual types, but the way that an NJ who uses introverted intuition uses that creativity is going to be pretty different from how an NP who uses extroverted intuition uses their intuition. And both types are creative, but they can kind of learn from one another. I'm going to link a video somewhere below or up here whenever I get a chance to, that will talk about why I think that NJs and NPs are natural creative partners, which I've done a video on before. But the tip I want to share today is to schedule and plan a brainstorming session. Now, this is not, a revolutionary idea. I'm not the only person who said this before, and I'm sure NJs and NPs or any sensor type could get some use from this tip as well. But it is specifically a good tip for NJs and something that NJ types should remember to do, because NJs, we tend to, as I'm an ENFJ, for those of you who might not know, NJs, we tend to wait for the inspiration to hit us or for, it to just sort of arise within us. And we're so naturally creative that we kind of don't really have to try. It sometimes feels, and we just get ideas that come to us based on our natural observing of whatever's in front of us or the world, that we might forget to go out and seek these ideas. Like as you might have seen in Dave Superpower's videos, NJs, we aren't really gathering those ideas. We're mostly organizing our perception. And so from natural organizing of what we see, those creative bursts just sort of hit us. But whenever we don't feel particularly creative, we don't just try and mitigate it in the same way that an NP would. We might just wait for that creative funk to pass, like as if it's a wave, and we trust that creativity will come again. But sometimes when NJs are feeling stuck when it comes to ideas, whether it be at work or a side project or even just ideas you might want to use for a relationship or even something like a grocery list or something, it could be really helpful if you're getting bored or if you're feeling a little stale in an area of your life to just schedule out on your calendar 30 minutes, even 15 minutes, or an hour for a more longer in-depth thing, to just brainstorm any idea and just put them down on the page. And once they're on the page, you're going to be able to use your introverted intuition to pick which one of those ideas are the best, and you're going to be able to move forward with it. But so you're going to have to put that effort in at times to actually come up with the ideas. Even with this YouTube channel, I get about 2 or 3 ideas for videos coming into my head at all times, and most of the videos that I've done have just been ideas that came to me randomly while I was doing something else, and I tend to just do it right after I get the idea. But I actually sat down and did a brainstorming session, and I came up with ideas that I never would have come up with if I would have just waited for it to hit me. And I think that's where you sort of get the best of both. And I want to say really quick that if you are an ENFJ or an ENTJ, then you use extroverted intuition as a demonstrative function in socionics. And what that means, the demonstrative function in socionics is sort of viewed as like a game to us, and could be used to intentionally undermine, I guess, people who use NE, and sort of in favor of our creative function, which is introvert intuition. So to put in a different way, ENTJs and ENFJs, we know how to use extroverted intuition pretty well, but we like to use it in favor of our introverted intuition, and we like to use it to sort of poke fun at NE users to sort of give them a taste of their own medicine, or sort of illustrate what might be wrong with some people the way that they use extroverted intuition. An example of that a lot of times is that ENJs can brainstorm and can have all these ideas in the way that ENP types do, but we don't like to do that. We want to move forward on one idea. But, you know, we can sort of use extrovert intuition to illustrate how important it is to have a main idea and to not get lost in all of the possibilities. And so remember, ENJs, that you are very capable of this sort of brainstorming, even if it's not your natural process. And so once you sit down and actually start coming up with ideas, you're going to be able to come up with many. And so you can sort of turn that part of your brain on for just a moment, act like you're an NP, and then look at it, use your extroverted sensing, look at your list, just look at it, and then decide what the main idea is that you found on that page. And for INJs, so INFJs and INTJs, your extrovert intuition is your ignoring function. So just so we're clear, I want to make explicit that I believe that extrovert intuition is correlated with brainstorming a little bit, because NPs, extroverted intuitives, sort of naturally brainstorm all day, every day. They don't really wait for the creative burst to hit them in the same way that NJs do. They go out and get it. They go out and get their creative juices, you know. But yeah, so INFJs and INTJs, they are going to sort of ignore those ideas most of the time because they're so zeroed in and on their purpose, or what they think the purpose is. And so this process for you will be sort of like taking your blinders off to the sort of ideas that are always around you and that are always crossing your head that you're always ignoring. And so this process is good for both. And I think that you will be amazed with the ideas you come up with. And remember that, yes, NJs are naturally creative, but if you want to be great, you're going to have to do things that don't come natural to you. You're going to have to stretch yourself. You're going to have to learn from others. The reason why I like personality types so much is because you can learn based on the other functions, see what works for them. I don't use introverted sensing very well, but I can learn a thing or two from the SJs and their consistency and the foundation that they've built in their lives. I can learn a thing or two from that. I'm not perfect. I'm an ENFJ who prefers extroverted feeling and introverted intuition, and hopefully I can teach some of you and help some people some, you know, ways to use FE and NI, you know, by my example. And that's the way that I want people to start looking at personality type, is by looking at other people and other functions as something to learn from, something you can learn from, something that you could apply to your life. Because we all need to stretch ourselves to be truly great. If you just rely on your natural gifts of your top two functions, you might not really be moving the needle in where you want in life. And, you know, for example, like an INTP might be really good at refining systems, but are you good at sharing what you found with the world? Are you good with, you know, making it concrete in the extroverted sensing reality? Maybe not. You're going to have to stretch yourself to do that. And NJs listening to this, you're going to have to stretch yourself to really be a creative, to work in a creative field, to do your passion. You're going to have to do things that don't come naturally for you if you want to do that. Everybody does. And that's why the blind spot function, your seventh function, is so hard. And that's why we all have our inferior function, or sometimes called the demon. We all have, you know, our eighth function, our role function in socionics that is so hard. We all have things that are hard, but, you know, we're gonna have to push ourselves, because nobody is gonna be happy if they just have the emotional side worked out, but not the logical side. They're not going to be happy if they have their purpose, but they don't know how to put their purpose out in the world. They don't know how to get themselves back up off their ass whenever their creative juices stop flowing. So, that's sort of the purpose for this. And yeah, I want to help people understand that there are other ways to use the functions. You don't have to just be a clone of every other of your 16 archetypes. You could do more, and you could push yourself more. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please support me on Patreon, which I'll have linked below, and also please join my Facebook group, Personality Typology for Self-Growth, that I also have linked below, and like me on Facebook. I am going to start doing live videos and some other things on there. I'd like to get as many of you on there as possible. Thank you, and have a good day.